Well, after a few days of Chinooks, my driveway is still probably 6 feet. Some of these drifts here right along the edge. Now, somewhere underneath this snow drift is all of our carrots and potatoes still. Might be a while before we can get to that. And there's still grasshoppers hopping around out here on the snow. Good morning, I'm up by Barron's, Alberta. This is Monday morning here. This is one of my soybean fields, and you can see the Canada thistle patches are suffering pretty bad now that the snow is gone. So they're kind of limp and over. And the soybeans are drying down, but they're still too wet to combine, and it's really windy out there, so I'm in the truck with the camera. But here on this side, this is a mature pod off the bottom. The beans are pretty dry, they're pretty much ready. But these are those top pods that were a hair immature, and the storm has kind of screwed them up here. So you can see they're starting to dry down, but they're still quite wet and rubbery. And they've got shrunken skin on them. You can see this one's still green inside. These ones here are kind of turning a clear color, and they're still soft enough I can dig into them easy with a thumbnail. So we're still gonna have to wait a while longer on these. Well, here I'm up by Carmen Gay this morning in the volunteer barley. This is the stuff that all got hailed out in the beer fields, and you can see it didn't die in all of the bad weather. It is still not doing great, and some of it's plastered to the ground, but it's still here. So we got more bad weather forecast for tomorrow, so we'll see how it looks after that recovers, and if we get a good spray window, we'll take care of it. And we got quite a bit of volunteer canola, managed to survive underneath the snow here, which I'm not terribly surprised by. The snow insulated the ground pretty well, and the ground never got down to freezing. So we'll see how well this survives. We might have to take care of it yet in the spring. Here's a cornfield this morning. And this was probably one of the least mature ones, so it wasn't really in the dent stage yet. And you can see the tops are really starting to go over now. They've totally lost all their strength after the wind. And the ears are kind of a little spongy. They're definitely kind of waterlogged. And there's still some moisture in these kernels. So it'll be interesting to see how this turns out. Well, the silage pile is continuing to grow as the crop comes in, and it's looking pretty good so far. Moisture is coming off good, so we're just going to keep going while we can. Well, super windy out here today. There's no way I can possibly fly the drone, so video from the truck is about the best you're going to get. Okay, well, here's some lodged canola. This particular field was drifted pretty tall, and as it melted, it's dragged down the canola, and it's not really in any one specific direction, but I would say it's mostly lodged towards the east. So it shouldn't be impossible to pick up, but we'll see when we get to it. It's just getting dry enough now that we can hopefully get in here, maybe get some of this combined, and get it dealt with before the wild weather we're supposed to be getting tomorrow. Here we're just getting auger set up to unload a potato truck. So if you've never seen this before, this is the inside of a potato storage bin. This particular facility, there's 4 this size in here, so quite a few tons of potatoes will fit in here. The floor is all perforated, which allows for airflow to come up through the potatoes, which can help keep them moist or dry them out as needed. And it's all controlled by a big environmental system in the back of the building. Here's another bay in the potato storage. This one is still under construction. There's no concrete on the floor yet, but you can see where all the air pipes and everything like that are going to go underneath to add or remove humidity as required. And at the very back there, that is where the environmental system is going to go. That's going to add water to the ventilation air or not. So that's how all this is set up. Pretty big building in here. This will hold many, many tons of potatoes. Yeah, right here I'm in another cornfield by Nobleford, and this one, the corn was a little bit underdeveloped. It was a little too long of a season corn for this year and for the killing frost we got. And this is what the ears look like when you shuck them back here. So we're very wet and moist in here. It's getting very soft. It kind of smells like silage. It's starting to break down already. So we're gonna have to get this stuff in the pit here pretty quick. Well, koch out here is starting to migrate. Hope it's not resistant. Now the safflower is getting combined, and it looks pretty good. It's dry enough for sure. This wind is really helping dry things down. Safflower is kind of similar to corn. It's a fairly high heat unit crop, so it didn't develop as fully as it should have. Here's what safflower seeds look like at harvest. They kind of look like a small, oddly shaped sunflower seed, and they're white. Here's a fall rye that got seeded just before the big storm. It looks like it kind of just sat there until the snow melted off, and then it's used that moisture and it's just started to sprout in the last couple days here. So there's been nothing emerge yet. It's all still underground, but it looks like it's gonna do just fine. Alright, I'm just checking out some of these swaths of Alderon wheat. This was a fairly long season wheat. It took forever for it to mature and dry down, and as a consequence, some of it was still sitting in the swath when that storm hit. So how's it looking now? Well, it's unfortunately, we're a little bit stained and we're a little bit bleached in there. So visually, the color is not there. It's not a super pretty sample. Quality wise, I mean, we won't know until it's harvested and we check it, but I think quality wise it should be just fine. There's no sign really of sprouting or anything going on in there. So I think we should be okay, but it's not the world's best looking hand sample, that's for sure. Well, here we are, another frozen day in the corn. So this is Tuesday early afternoon. We've had probably, I don't know, 4 inches, maybe 5 inches of snow in here. Nice heavy wet snow, starting to break the tops off again already. So here's that same field of L233P again, and as you can see, the new snowfall really dragged it down and pushed it down. It's lodged way worse than it was yesterday. There was close to 6 inches of new snow in this field drifted in here, as you can see. The wind was so severe I had to remove the original audio. Well, these silage oats are good and flat now. They're still green underneath the snow, so it'll be interesting to see how they recover. But yeah, right now they're not looking so good. I think at this point they'll realistically never stand up again. Here's the odd patch here and there that's never completely lodged. These ones, you can see, have been frost killed, so they won't do anything now. They might regrow from the bottom, but hard to say. But obviously it's going to get silaged here fairly soon once weather allows. The wheat swaths don't look quite so pretty today, so I really hope that they don't start sprouting with this additional moisture in there. I hope it, melts off and evaporates quickly enough that nothing sprouts. Alright, well, we're trying to silage, but having trouble with the snow. You'd almost think they're not designed to go through a foot of snow. Well, we found the wet spot. The fence got stuck. And just checking out the corn by Lethbridge. This is the Maize X corn, and you can see the tops have lodged on it. Fairly good here, but otherwise it's looking not too bad. There's not as much snow here as there is out by Nobleford and to the west, but it does look like it's coming off pretty good. I think that truck might be stuck down there, but it is what it is. We'll deal with it. Well, I'm out in the potato field now, and as you can see, we still got good snow cover in here as of Friday early afternoon. The ground is frozen pretty solid here, and these potatoes, when you dig them up, they're all frozen. So these are no longer any good, and they will be an insurance claim on these, and they'll be getting plowed under. So growing potatoes ain't all roses and sunshine. Sometimes the worst can happen with them as well. Another frosty morning out here, and I'm just underneath the Borgo seed drill at the moment with some of my trial flags and some tape, and just taking pictures of the seed width for carbon credits. So this is how this is done. Hopefully I get it right this time. And here's your drone footage for this week. Thanks for watching, like and subscribe, and we'll see you next week.